We will be talking about EMDR and EFT, the body-based processing tools that will help you heal the fearful avoidant attachment style. I am Pauline and I am so happy you are here because the fearful avoidant attachment style is the most physical attachment style of the four: secure, dismissive avoidant, anxious preoccupied, and the fearful avoidant attachment style. What this means is that feelings and emotions and sensations are intense and can be overwhelming when you're struggling with the fearful avoidant attachment style, more so than in the other ones. And this is kind of a double bind because you crave intensity in a way. You want intense feelings, you want to feel intense sensations, but you're also very scared of it. So you're also trying to suppress it. There's a lot of meaning attached to the feelings and sensations that you have. Your fear brain is trying to create meaning around it. If you feel tension, that means your relationship isn't right. And so feelings become really big, sensations become really big. This attachment style out of the four has feelings on a pedestal the most, in a positive way, wanting to feel certain feelings very intensely and all the time, like being in love, because that creates a certain kind of certainty. I have videos on that. You can watch those. They'll probably be linked up here. But also in a negative way, that you give a lot of power to fear and to tension and stress and anxiety. You don't want to feel those. So certain feelings you really want to feel and hold on to, and other feelings you really don't want to feel. And I call that emotional management, where some feelings are allowed and you hold on to them, you clamp onto them, and other feelings you try to not have. So you're trying to constantly manage what emotions and feelings you have because of the meaning that your fear brain attaches to those feelings, emotions, and sensations. And then also with the fearful avoidant attachment style, generally out of all of them, you as a fearful avoidant have the most trauma, which may sound daunting, but that means that you have gone through the most and also have stored the most in your body. So there's a lot of trauma that is just stored in your body, and even more so because there was a lot of intensity when you were younger. So that could be emotional volatility and a parent that got really angry, so intense anger, intense emotions in you, but there was also a lot of suppression. And so that creates this really weird double bind where you have these intense emotions that you're trying to suppress, and because you haven't learned how to process them in the moment, all of that gets stored because your body is made to release. Your body is made to feel those feelings and process those feelings. But when you kind of interrupt that process, what happens is that it gets stored in the body, sometimes in literal parts of the body. You can look it up. There are videos of people getting massages, fascia releases, and a lot of emotions come up because in that part of their body emotions were stored, which is just so intriguing, isn't it? And then all of that stored trauma and all those feelings and sensations, those cause the reflexes. So the really fast reactions you have to certain triggers: feeling rejected, feeling abandoned, being afraid that somebody is angry with you, making mistakes. All of those can trigger an enormous wave of feelings, and you react out of a reflex. And because of the intensity of the feelings and the emotions, the reflexes will be stronger too, and it's really hard to choose a different behavior in the moment. So what we want is to release that stored trauma, and that means to release the feelings, the emotions, the sensations, the emotional charge around those triggers and around the memories that you have. So just insights will never truly heal the fearful avoidant attachment style. You can understand everything about it, understand all the patterns, all the mechanisms, and still have these reflexes, still notice that you are behaving in a certain way, and that patterns just kick in, and protection mechanisms just kick in. So you can't just choose a different reaction, a different behavior, whereas some therapists assume you can because other people can, but it's just too overwhelming. So you need to have a tool to release the trauma and the feelings from your body, and that is a body-based processing tool. And today we discuss EMDR and EFT, which are both really powerful tools that can do that. And they are similar in a way in what they can do. They are very different in how they are administered and how they work, how the process works. And so I just wanted to kind of dive into that so that you can see the difference. Maybe you've tried one or the other, and you're curious whether the other one might work better, or you just have no idea and you're trying to find a therapy that will work best for you. But the interesting thing is that for about 80 to 90% of people, EMDR is effective. And for about 80 to 90% of people, EFT is effective. And it overlaps. So usually the ones that notice that EMDR isn't really doing it, they benefit greatly from EFT, and the other way around. Isn't that beautiful? That they are complementary in a way. So EMDR stands for eye movement desensitization and reprocessing. And usually this is done with a therapist. More and more therapists are trained in EMDR. It's more I would say in clinical settings, this is used more than EFT. And it makes use of eye movement to process trauma. So there are several ways to do that, but the therapist leads you through a process to kind of tune into the trauma, and then through your eye movements that they also help you, guide you with, you process the trauma. So that trauma that got stuck in your body because you weren't able to process it as a child, your therapist now helps you process that through eye movements. And it's used by more and more therapists, which is amazing. It's really good because it's a really powerful tool. I also do want to dive into the limitations of both. So the limitations of first, what you can heal is trauma. It is also used with PTSD for very specific memories, and it can just give a really big difference afterwards. So there's really there's also a lot of studies that just show that EMDR is effective. The limitations of it is that it is harder to do yourself. So what I hear back a lot is that when people went through EMDR, they really had to wait for the next session to continue the process. And that can feel like it just takes forever, right? I remember when I went to a therapist, not even using these tools, but a week just felt like a month because I was struggling so much and I just wanted to get better faster. So the fact that it's harder to do yourself can be hard if you feel like you're waiting for the next session. And also you have to kind of trust your therapist and surrender to your therapist because they are the one that guide you through this process. And it might be that that's easy for you, that's no problem. But when you notice yourself being very hesitant or feeling resistance to it, that makes sense because fearful avoidant attachment style is relational trauma, and a therapist shouldn't just assume that you are willing or able to trust them. So when the tool that is used is based on that trusting relationship, which EMDR is not always, but it is for a lot of therapists, they do kind of assume that you trust them or will be able to trust them. That can make it hard, and it can be more beneficial to have a tool that you can do yourself, so that you stay in control, you control what is happening and when you can stop. So that is something that with EMDR is harder. You just really go through the process with the therapist, and of course you can say I want to stop, but it can feel like you're not completely in control. That's also what I hear a lot. And with EMDR, usually specific memories are needed. Um, there are there in the past few years there have been more ways um, to use EMDR even when there's not specific memories, but for the longest time EMDR was just not for that. It wasn't designed for that. It was designed to process really specific memories. And that's hard when you don't really have specific memories, but it's more complex PTSD. So small daily things that all added to the trauma. So EMDR definitely works. It's a body-based processing tool in the sense that it really does release stored trauma from your body. It processes what was stored. But when you're noticing that it doesn't work, EFT is an alternative to it, and I just want you to know that it exists. This is the one that I am definitely partial to. I used it to heal 95% of my fearful avoidant attachment style. So I may be biased. I'm already saying that. I'm trying to be as objective and neutral as possible, but after doing a lot of research into different forms of therapy that are being used in the treatment of the fearful avoidant attachment style and all the coexisting things, EFT just again and again comes back as a very powerful tool in healing this. I have a completely specific or completely separate video specifically on why EFT is so amazing for fearful avoidance. But just to give you kind of a summary is that EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it makes use of tapping, which looks really weird. You tap on certain parts of your body. Those are connected to the meridians in your body. So it uses ancient wisdom, if you will. But it's also just shown in studies that it really calms down your body. So your heart rate goes down, your blood pressure goes down, all your stress signals go down, and it calms the amygdala, the warning center in your brain. And it combines it with psychology. And this is why I love, one of the many reasons why I love EFT is that it also includes that part, which is important because your fear brain as a fearful avoidant is very strong, and that's the psychological system behind fear. I go into depth in all of this in the video specifically about EFT. But EFT was also designed to release trauma from the body. It has been used with veterans with very good results, and I find it works a little bit better when it comes to complex PTSD because you can also focus on the feeling and release the feeling. And there are a lot of myths and misunderstandings about EFT because if you Google it and you read about it, what you read is that it is better suited to calm down daily stress, but EMDR is better suited to release deep trauma. And that is just not true. EFT, and that is also why I love it, is such a versatile tool. You can use it for daily stress, but you can use it to heal the deepest, absolute deepest roots, and also very specific traumatic memories. There's the movie technique. There's just so many techniques that you can use to release and release the emotional charge around specific memories or specific feelings or specific associations that you have. But what the overlap is that it really releases the trauma from the body. And that is why I wanted to make this video, because no matter what kind of therapy you use and you choose, having a therapist that is trained in a body-based processing tool, I think is key. And I see this missing so much. So I just want you to get the absolute best help you can get. And whether it's EMDR or EFT, both are amazing tools. And I just want you to know that they both exist and kind of how they work. So EFT, I had mentioned that you can do that with a therapist. You can also do it yourself. And that's what I love about it too. It was designed to also learn yourself and do yourself, so you're not completely dependent on a therapist or on the next session. Again, I go into depths in all of that in the other video. And I also have a video on the 5 different ways you can heal the fearful avoidant attachment style. That can also really help you to understand why you may have been stuck when you're working on one layer and there are actually 5 layers. But the body-based processing is absolutely key in healing the fearful avoidant attachment style, because of the fact that it's such a physical attachment style and the feelings are so core to this attachment style. Let me know if this was valuable, if you got anything out of it in the comments below. I always love to hear. I make use of EFT. I have an online program, Healed and Happy. If you didn't know, you absolutely don't have to. Obviously, I just want you to know that it exists, and it is fully specialized in healing the fearful avoidant attachment style, and we do make use of EFT. Also, other modalities, but definitely also EFT, because it just fits the fearful avoidant attachment style so well. So you can find more about that in the link in the description below. But I just wanted to make this video to help you kind of see for yourself what pulls you and what you think might work for you. As always, I am so happy you are here, and I will see you in the next one.